So how many people here consider themselves lean fanatics? Because I'm really talking to you. I happen to be one of them. This is the lost lessons of validated learning. And what I'm really talking about is, as I read Eric's book, I started seeing in his case studies things that he would talk about, but not necessarily spend a lot of time preaching about. So I'm going to preach about it. First of all, so I want to warn you about case studies. Just because a meteor hitting the Earth might be the best explanation for why the dinosaurs went extinct, it's not likely to explain why the next species is going to go extinct, right? So I want to challenge you that we don't just look at the lean startup in the case studies that Eric provided or in the case studies we give each other and think that we can just follow one another, because then we're just turning into the lemmings that Eric is warning us against being. IMVU started out with that approach, right? They took industry leaders' thinking, they took market research, and what did they basically do? Through lean, they proved that everything that they thought was right because of what other people had said was actually wrong. This is called the subprime mortgage crisis, right? If you borrow other people's evidence, don't expect to get their results. It won't work. You need to look at what other people do, including other startups in this room, including what Eric has done, as clues, not proof. Get rid of the word social proof in your vocabulary. Social clues. Think about what did those people uncover, and then conduct your own experiments on it. And if there's nothing else you take away from what I'm telling you today, and I hope from your reading in Lean Startup, it's that your startup is your experiment. It's your chance to take your thoughts and your ideas about how the world works and test it. Don't lose that. Don't follow someone else's tactics as if they're dogma. One of the things I think is funny about Lean is we often talk about it being a science. Well, science begins with a leap of faith. It begins with a hypothesis. It begins with an insight that you get from just surrounding yourself with a problem and trying to figure it out. I was a part of a team that tried to get recursive on Lean, and let me tell you, it grinds to a halt really fast. You can't test everything. You have to start somewhere. And the best way to start is to just go exploring. Customer development, MVPs, any approach that you take that gets you out into the problem itself, talking to experts that are out there and so on. Kind of the inverse of what I just said before, but realize you've got to start with something. And if you start with a bad idea, it's okay, as long as, again, it's your experiment. GIF gave us the suggestion to take a competitor's bad idea and test it. We learned so much from doing that. I certainly encourage you to do the same. So, I only have 20 slides, and I'm repeating one of them. Your startup is your experiment. Anyone that's in here trying to do Lean, don't let this leave your sight, because what you'll gain from it is something that we can all benefit from. As we build our experiments together, we'll begin to see patterns and begin to see principles that we can apply. It isn't what would Eric do, right? He says this in the book all the time. Why aren't people challenging whether or not the tactics I'm suggesting apply in their case? I challenge you to do that. When you look at MVPs, when you look at customer developments, ask yourself, is this the right tactic in this situation? And be careful that as you're applying tactics, you don't miss the fact that, we tend to have a cognitive bias towards things that stimulate us. I mean, you see the stockings, the glass, the cat, and the potted plant, right? As we often see with Lean and when we talk about it, we do also have a cognitive bias to avoiding things that might prove us wrong. And this is the part where thinking like a scientist becomes fun. Because if you have a cognitive bias, guess what? So does everyone else who's looking at this space. And if you're willing to challenge yourself to look at your riskiest assumptions, as we like to say, you're going to uncover stuff that other people aren't finding. So be emotionally aware, not just mentally aware, but be emotionally aware of what you're experiencing as you go through these tests, because it will challenge you. Make sure you have investors who get what you're doing. Make sure your first money in are people who get what you're about, because otherwise you're going to be in these boardroom brawls trying to decide direction. Eric was lucky to find those people. Don't rely on luck. Finally, I checked out IMVU. Whenever I read management consulting books or business management practices, I like to see what that person built. And I got to be honest with you, IMVU didn't provide me with value. And I want to challenge you that Lean startup principles don't cause you to create value. That comes from what you value in life. Find the things that you care about, and then use Lean to refine that value and bring it to the world. Thanks.